Hey everybody, Hunter back again from Showtime Studios. Going to do part number 7 of the vinyl top install on the 69 112 scale Camaro. And this step here is going to be quite tedious and you only need a couple of things to do it. But I'm going to show you what I use and what I highly recommend. I do not recommend any other products for this part of the technique. So if anybody is watching the videos and they decide that they're going to use, a different, especially masking tape, I'm not going to guarantee you how well the results are going to come out. But what we're going to be using in this step is, I actually have a toothpick here that I went ahead and tapered it on the edges. And I also went in and sanded it a little bit just to kind of roll it, so it doesn't have a sharp point on it. It's just rounded. We're using a brand new number 11 blade in the hobby knife. This is just put in here. And we're also going to be using some 10 millimeter wide Tamiya masking tape. And that is the key to, I guess getting a nice clean line. And, this is the only tape I use. If you watch my videos for the last probably 3 years, this is the only tape that's ever been on the bench, other than going back in and using a, in fact, I have it laying up here right now. I have some of the blue painter's tape. Now, we will be using this on the model, and I'll show you where we're going to use it, but it will not be for anything that is critical as far as bleed under. So, we're going to go ahead and get started on part number 7 here. I'm not going to do the whole car. I'm going to show you the steps on how I go about putting the tape down, and I'm going to do it in a couple of spots. I'll do it on our new trim that we made back here on the back, and I'll also do it, well, since we're working on the rear, I'll go ahead and do it around the kit chrome that's going to be, or the actual molding that's around the back glass that will become bare metal foil later. Now, this step here, what we're doing this for is, we have all of our molding and all of our trim and everything sanded out, or you should have it sanded out at this point. Everything should be smooth, no sand scratches in it, no, ups, downs, no sharp edges, anything like that. Everything should be ready for bare metal foil. So what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we'll start on this piece of trim right back here on the back. And as you notice, in part 6, we made these little folds back here. I went ahead and snipped those off. And like I say, to snip off the excess that was coming up here, I just laid the knife in here right past the little piece of plastic and just pushed down in that groove. And then to check and make sure that everything lines up the way you want it to as far as the groove, just lay the knife in the groove, the back side of it, and just come along the groove, clean that out. And if it doesn't bump into this little strip, you've got it where you want it to be. So now we're going to go ahead and start on the tape off process. And like I say, I'm not going to do all of this on video, but we will come back and do an update video once I get everything taped on the whole car, because that will lead into our texture paint video that we're going to be doing. So what I try to do is I just laid down that 10 millimeter tape and I just pushed it down very lightly on the high part of the molding, which is on the very top side of it. And then next you want to come in with our rounded Q-tip that we made. Come in more toward the center of the tape. And you just want to lightly press the tape down against the molding, just to get it shaped and get it down in there pretty good. And then go ahead and roll it over the back side of the molding, just so you get it to stick back here. You don't have to worry about this being precise at the back. That's not critical. This piece back here below the molding, just get it to lay down. That's all you need. Now the next thing that you're going to do is come in with the number 11 blade, and that channel that we scribed into the plastic is what you're looking for. And I said there was a reason why we were going to scribe that the way that we did. And what that is for is that allows you to drop the knife right down in that scribe groove. And we're actually cutting around our little connector piece that we made on our trim. And with scribing this stuff, it just makes it so much easier to do the tape process. So much cleaner. And now that we have that cut off, we just go back with our toothpick and make sure everything is laid down real good against that groove or against the trim itself. I'm actually going to put my little magnifier on here just to check everything and make sure we're good. Then what you want to do is just come back in, run the blade in the groove, because this is your last chance to clean anything out of that. And as far as taping off the molding, that's all there is to it. You want to make sure that your blade stays sharp. If you do around this back and maybe around the back glass, go ahead and change the blade out to do the drip rail molding and the windshield. Whatever you need to do, make sure that this blade stays sharp. And whenever you're cutting the masking tape, make sure that you are staying in that scribed line that you put there. Now, another thing is reason why we made that scribe line is that's a nice clean line. It's against our trim, and it keeps you from having to follow freehand up against the mold. This way you've got a groove, and it's actually a guide for the knife to drop into. And when everything's said and done, especially with the texture paint, you will never know that that groove was ever there. It's an extra step. It takes a little bit more time. Probably not everybody is going to do it. But I can guarantee you, unless you have a very, very steady hand, and that means a steady hand through everything that has to be taped, it's not going to come out as clean as putting this, scribing that groove in there. So that's how we go ahead and tape off our raised molding. Now the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and basically do the same technique on our trim around the windows. Now this part here, I'm pushing down on the high side of the trim, and I'm going to go ahead and push that around the corner and adhere it under on the underside, because we want to make sure that all that trim all the way around there gets covered up and we don't get any paint on it. The next thing that we're going to do is go in with our toothpick right in our groove. That's another good thing about the Tamiya masking tape, is it's actually transparent to a certain extent. You can see through it, and you can find out right where that groove is. We now have that pressed down in the groove. So all we need to do now is come past our masking tape a little bit, drop the knife into the groove, come over to the other side, peel off the excess, come back in with the toothpick, make sure it's down in the groove, it's clean, no jagged edges. If you happen to tear it or get a jagged edge, pull that piece of masking tape back off and redo it. You do not want a jagged edge on this part. I'm laying the knife back in the groove again just to check it, and see if we can hold it up here and let you get a view of what it looks like. That's what we look like on the scratch built molding that we made as far as being taped off, and that's what it looks like on the trim around the back glass. You can see how clean that line is. That's what you're going to need to do all the way around the car. So what we're going to do is, off camera, I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the taping all the way around the car, and then I will show you when we get ready to use the blue painter's tape what we're going to use it for and where. And then after that, we'll be moving on to the texture paint video. So we're nearing the end of this process. So hopefully everybody's been following along and you know, maybe learning a different way to do it. If you have any questions or concerns, just leave me a comment on the video. I'll be more than glad to answer them for you. And like always, I thank you for watching and supporting Showtime Studios, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.